At 4:07 a.m., the lights inside Studio 1A flickered on. The building at 30 Rockefeller Plaza was still half asleep. The makeup chairs were empty. The teleprompters were dark. And for the first time in over a year, a familiar silhouette stepped through the glass doors. Hoda Kotb had already said goodbye. She had hugged the crew. She had wiped away tears. She had walked off that set in January of 2025 promising herself she would never again wake up at 3:30 in the morning for breaking news. And yet, on February 9, 2026, at 61 years old, she was back. Not for ratings. Not for headlines. Not for fame. She came back because her friend was living through a nightmare. The world only saw the headline: Savannah Guthrie's mother missing. Possible abduction. FBI involved. But Hoda saw something else. She saw the 16-year-old girl Savannah once was, the girl who lost her father suddenly and learned that strength wasn't optional. She saw the polished anchor America trusted every morning. And she saw, beneath all of that, a daughter who was terrified. For years, Hoda and Savannah had smiled across that desk like nothing could shake them. They laughed about junk food, about motherhood, about the chaos of live television. They became the first all-female team to lead the morning broadcast in 2018, a symbol of friendship and resilience. But now the anchor chair beside Craig Melvin sat empty. Savannah wasn't in New York. She was in Tucson, Arizona, standing outside her 84-year-old mother's home while crime scene tape fluttered in the desert wind. And Hoda, at 61, finally spoke up about what was really happening, not just in front of the cameras but behind them. Because this wasn't just a news story. It was family. In September of 2024, Hoda had looked directly into the camera and told millions of viewers she was stepping away from Today after 26 years at NBC. She had turned 60 that summer. And something about that milestone shifted her. Her youngest daughter, Hope, had faced serious health issues in 2023: hospital rooms, sleepless nights, whispered prayers. Hoda had sat beside her daughter's bed wondering what truly mattered. When Hope finally stabilized, Hoda made a quiet promise to herself. Time would no longer be something she borrowed from her children. Her final broadcast on January 10, 2025 was historic. The network moved the celebration to a larger studio inside 30 Rockefeller Plaza to accommodate the crowd. Her daughters, Haley and Hope, ran onto the set. Confetti fell. The applause felt endless. Then she left. She moved to Westchester. She started a wellness venture called Joy 101. She walked her daughters to school. She went to PTA meetings. She traded breaking news alerts for bedtime stories. She said she felt lighter. And for a year she stayed away. Until January 31, 2026. That night, in the Catalina foothills of Tucson, Nancy Guthrie was dropped off at her home after dinner with her daughter Annie and son-in-law. It was 9:50 p.m. She waved goodbye. By morning she was gone. The porch light was still on. Her phone was plugged in on the kitchen counter. A back door showed signs of forced entry. And at 1:47 a.m. the doorbell camera went dark. By February 1st, the Pima County Sheriff's Department was involved. Within days the FBI arrived. Blood was found on the porch, some of it belonging to Nancy, some of it not. The case escalated from missing person to suspected kidnapping. Then came the email. On February 3rd at 1:12 p.m., a ransom note landed in the inboxes of TMZ and 2 local Tucson news stations. It read like a business contract. $4 million in Bitcoin by Thursday. Missed the deadline, and the price would jump to $6 million by Monday at 5 p.m. The note included details only someone inside the house would know. What Nancy was wearing, an item knocked over during the struggle. It was credible. It was calculated. And it was public. Savannah left New York immediately. She flew to Arizona and stepped into a nightmare that felt eerily familiar. Another sudden loss, another moment where strength was required without warning. But this time she wasn't 16. She was one of the most recognizable journalists in America. And her pain was unfolding under a spotlight. When Hoda got the call, she didn't hesitate. Years earlier, when Hope had been hospitalized, Savannah was the first person through the door. No cameras. No announcements. Just quiet presence. I was thinking who showed up first? Hoda would later say. Savannah. That memory decided everything. So on February 9, 2026, Hoda walked back into Studio 1A and slid into the chair she had sworn she'd left behind. She told viewers she was there to support her friend. But what she didn't say, what she finally admitted at 61, was that she could see the cracks forming in Savannah long before anyone else did. Savannah had been raised by a woman she described as hard, iron, granite strong. In 1988, When Savannah was 16, her father, Charles, died suddenly of a heart attack at 49. Nancy became a widow overnight. 3 children. No safety net. She didn't collapse. She went to work at the University of Arizona to ensure her children could afford college. She attended church every Sunday. She carried grief privately and strength publicly. Savannah learned that lesson well. On camera she was composed, measured, professional. But Hoda knew the difference between composure and containment. Behind closed doors, Savannah was trying to coordinate with the FBI, support her siblings Cameron and Annie, protect her own children and answer national media questions, all while wondering if her mother had access to heart medication and a pacemaker battery. The kidnappers provided no proof of life. No photo.no voice recording. Nothing. On February 7th, Savannah stood between her brother and sister and recorded a message. "We received your message and we understand," she said, her face pale but steady. "This is very valuable to us and we will pay." The FBI generally advises families not to pay ransom. But this wasn't policy. This was a daughter. Still, the clock struck 5 p.m. on February 9th, and the silence was deafening. No confirmation. No instructions. No mother. Back in New York, Hoda made a decision. If the investigation had to remain secret, the support would not. She pinned a yellow ribbon to her jacket. The rest of the on-air team followed without discussion. Yellow roses appeared on the anchor desk. Viewers began tying ribbons around trees from Maine to California. In Tucson, yellow carnations lined neighborhood gates. It became a national vigil. But late at night, after the cameras shut off and her daughters were asleep, Hoda's Instagram told a different story. She posted family photos of Nancy, laughing on a porch, hugging Savannah at a birthday party. No polish. No filters. Just humanity. "Bring her home," she wrote. She sat at her kitchen counter, makeup fading, voice softer than it ever was on air, urging followers to keep sharing Nancy's face. Don't let this story fade. Because Hoda understood something kidnappers fear more than anything: attention. Meanwhile, investigators traced DNA from blood on the porch that did not belong to Nancy. They found a discarded glove 2 miles away matching the sample. Doorbell footage showed a masked man in a tactical hoodie carrying a handgun and flashlight. A Bitcoin wallet created through a mixer complicated tracking. Then came a break. On February 11th, someone attempted to log into the ransom email using public Wi-Fi at a truck stop near the New Mexico border. By the time agents arrived, the suspect was gone. Hours of surveillance footage were seized. The search widened. Still no proof of life. As days stretched into weeks, Hoda began speaking more candidly, not just about the case but about Savannah herself. "She's carrying more than she lets on," Hoda confided to colleagues. Savannah had always operated by the Guthrie code. When life gets hard, you fix it. But kidnappings don't bend to discipline. In private calls between New York and Arizona, Hoda urged her friend to breathe. "You don't have to be iron," she told her. "You can just be human." At 61, Hoda had stepped away from television once already. She had tasted a life where headlines didn't define her worth. She knew something Savannah was still learning in real time. Strength is powerful, but vulnerability saves you. And that was what Hoda finally spoke up about. Not the ransom, not the FBI strategy, not the speculation. She spoke about the cost of always being the strong one. She spoke about watching her friend try to uphold her mother's legacy of resilience while secretly fearing that if she broke down, she would dishonor it. She spoke about how friendship isn't built on shared success but shared collapse. The public saw a newsroom crisis. Hoda saw a daughter fighting not to shatter. Whether Nancy Guthrie walks back through her front door tomorrow or months from now, one truth has already been revealed. The bond between Hoda Kotb and Savannah Guthrie is not a marketing slogan. It is not television chemistry. It is 2 women who have shown up for each other at hospital beds, at anchor desks, and now in the middle of a federal investigation. At 61, Hoda Kotb didn't return to television because she missed it. She returned because loyalty is louder than retirement. And as the investigation continues, one question lingers quietly in the background. Is Savannah's iron composure the thing keeping her standing? Or is it the cage she'll eventually have to unlock? Because sometimes the bravest thing a strong woman can do is let someone else carry her for a while.